Have you seen anyone take the download, Ian?
Take the download?
Yeah.
Is that what you were talking about?
Experienced that? Have you experienced someone taking the download right in front of you?
You want to elaborate on that a little bit? But
okay, for example, I go and ask somebody, hey, how do you spell Looney Tunes? And they say Looneytons. And then I say, how do you spell Oscar Mayer? And they say Oscar Meyer. And then you say to the person, you just spelled Meyer wrong, and you just spelled tunes wrong. They've never been spelled that way. And the person looks you in the eye and they say, oh yeah, I made a mistake. That's right, it is Meyer, Meyer. Right. Mayer. And it always was Tunes. I just made a mistake. They gave you lifelong memories. 40 years, however old they are. They gave you lifelong memories, something they saw 1,000 times maybe, and then they jump straight to, I just made a mistake.
I mean, yeah, it's programmed. It's not just memories; it's programming.
It's not just
the spelling one. I can definitely see how that would just not be anything except for misremembering. I look up words all the time.
So when you misremember something, you can remember it, right? Do you agree that you could remember something that you've misremembered
afterwards?
You went to dinner last weekend and you said, I had steak Saturday night. And your brother says, no, man, you had shrimp. Remember, that was at that other restaurant. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. I had shrimp. Like, you can remember. But I'm never going to remember Oscar Mayer.
Sure you will. It's just the power of suggestion.
Haven't in 8 years.
Okay, well, I haven't remembered it. It's well established that memory is kind of flimsy at best, and that people are suggestible.
Well, that's true, yes. But of the 700 or 800 Mandela effects I've experienced, not one of them have I remembered. That's very odd. Very odd in my mind that I haven't remembered one thing.
Yeah, and another aspect about this is that like the people who are Mandela affected and they tend to all agree about this change. So if it's like a mismemory about like, let's say, C-3PO's like, silver calf, like people remember it. Like maybe that's not a good example. Maybe another example would be like Dali had braces. Maybe that's also not a very good example.
No, I think
what would be a good example? But like we all have the same mismemory. That's the problem. We all most of us agree on the same mismemory. Go ahead, Vo.
Nobody agrees on having a C-3PO on having a copper calf or a white calf, right? Everybody agrees on it being golden.
But if it's not gold, I mean, it must be silver. I mean, like that's why I was like kind of trying to change from that example to another example.
Everybody has the same mismemory, and if it would be a mismemory, there would be more differentiation.
Even the actor that said the famous iconic line, the actors are getting all these things wrong. The editors of the film. There's so much stuff. All the evidence is there's no denying the evidence. The editor of Silence of the Lambs in 2 clips says, Anthony Hopkins came out and said, hello, Clarice, and we knew he had the part. He edited the film. I mean, how can people deny stuff like that?
I was watching a video earlier on the Moonraker one. That's a gigantic one for me. That if I had a top 10, that would be in my top 10. But this guy was showing evidence on a video, which we're going to watch later, that he was going over reviews of the movie, I think years ago. And one said that she had braces. One said they were trying to explain why she didn't. It was weird, but he was showing conflicting reviews and people talking about it,
We see a lot
funny.
So London and Flow State, you remember Silence of the Lambs, which right?
But if you asked me a line and I said it incorrectly, I would, I think, rightly just assume that my memory was off on it.
Yeah. But that's not that's not what I'm asking. But you remember Silence of the Lambs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not the Silence of the Lambs.
Ian, I can show you. Excuse me, boy.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Yeah.
Ian, I can show you 2 clips. One of Anthony Hopkins in an interview referring to the meeting of Clarice in the cell. He refers to it in an interview, and he says, "Good morning. Not real FBI, are we?" because she was a student. So, and then in another interview, I can show you where he says, "Hello, Clarice, not real FBI, are we?" So he, in 2 different interviews, says what we remember and says what it actually is. Like,
anyone's free to share their screen or whatever as well. If you guys want to, by all means, if you want to show those things, you can. I'm just saying.
Man, I don't.
Well, and
I have so much of this stuff, man. I don't even know where to begin to like show you stuff. I
understand.
I'll just interject.
The problem is still though that we're dealing with memory, which is like just not a great metric.
Not fact, memory. Correct, Flo.
And it's not only memory that we're dealing with, but we're also dealing with how do you say memorized memory. So actually, memory
anchor memories,
right?
Like,
anchor
it is true,
but also memories anchored in stone and anchored on.
That's not
paper.
a thing. Anchored in stone memories are not a thing unless they're like attached to severe trauma or something.
no, you're right, Flo. I mean, it's
You wouldn't
predominantly
consider your
memories,
mother's
like,
name
your-
anchored in stone, Flo?
Did your mother's name change?
No, I asked you a question. You wouldn't consider your mother's name anchored in stone memory.
As far as memories go, I would think that is, yes, one of the most anchored ones.
Okay.
But
You just said there were no. That's why I was saying.
Yeah,
there
no,
are.
but like,
You can depend on memory.
yeah,
it's not
so
just
like,
memory is the start of it. When we see there's an issue with that memory and the matching of reality, well, then that's when we start to talk about these things. But I don't almost never talk about ones that are just memory. We also have corroborating physical evidence going back hundreds of years on some of these changes that match all our memories, and our memories are in unison with each other on all these same things, so many down the line. And if they are mismemories, let's just say we're misremembering this, we're misremembering that. Well, where's all the variations of the mismemory? Where's all the different variations of animals lying with the lamb? Why is it always the lion? Why is it always the lion? Is the lion the only animal in the Bible? Absolutely
in my
not.
experience, most of these questions are put in a way that lead the witness. Would be my response to that.
I would disagree. I would say there's definitely a lot of people out there that would fall into that category and do exactly what you're saying. But channels like myself, I would say absolutely not. And when I approach people, I'd never lead the witness, never give them multiple choice, never show them side-by-side images. I get them to explain situations and anchor memories to me. And then I tell them, hey, by the way, that's never existed. But you're not crazy because we all remember the same as you. Many of these things are very repetitious too. Like you could say these things, oh, well, you guys misremembered a movie line or whatever. But some of these things, I mean, like it's not a movie we watched once or twice, even though that still wouldn't make sense to me because we're all in unison on so many. But like Mr. Rogers or something like that, I mean, we sang along to that, at least I did, 5 days a week for probably a decade of my life. So that's a lot different than misquoting something, you know?
yeah, and we should ask Flo, like, do you remember the song?
Here we go. Sorry, which song? I was
Mr. Rogers. Can we talk about that?
I don't remember the song. Although I should because I watched it a ton when I was little.
You don't remember the first couple lines when he walks through the door singing? It's no.
Beautiful day.
I have a
Beautiful
bad memory.
day.
I spent a lot of money over the years to have this bad memory.
Does anyone else on the panel remember this movie but doesn't know about the Mandela effect?
Good one, Flo.
Does anyone else remember the movie on the panel?
What movie? We're talking about the TV
Television
show right
show?
now.
Mr.
What
Rogers.
movie are you talking about?
We're
Oh, no,
talking
what's
about
the-
the
I don't-
television show.
I
We're
don't
talking about
remember.
Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, no, I know. So Close gave his thing, but maybe it's someone else we can see what they remember.
Well, what about Chuck? Chuck, did you ever used to watch Mr.
Yeah.
Rogers on PBS?
Yes, I did.
Could you sing the first 2 lines of his intro song? Very popular song. You must know it.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. is
Okay,
what
and you're
I
wrong.
remember.
And now you're wrong, but I don't want to say you're
Okay.
wrong. I believe you're right. I agree with you. We all, most of
how
us
I
here,
do it.
we agree with you, but now it's never been that in this reality. It's always been a beautiful day in this neighborhood. Yet not only do we all agree, there's piles and piles of residual physical evidence that would agree, endless and endless parodies. Eddie Murphy on Saturday Night Live doing Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood, Johnny
Oh,
Carson.
you can't go by that. You
Why
got to
not?
go by you can only go by the original. You cannot go
The
by
original's changed. That's the whole concept of the
Original
Mandela
says
effect.
yes.
The original has changed, and we're telling you all our memories say otherwise, and all this physical evidence. The only thing that's going against us really is the official record. So why you want to throw away what you didn't even think about? I mean, you were like, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. That's what it was, but it's never been that now.
I just dropped the conclusion. I just copy and paste the conclusion to a research study about the reliability of eyewitness testimony from their memory, and it specifically there's what 5 criteria that need to be met for memory to be reliable.
Okay, I have a question on eyewitness testimony because that's constantly brought up with the Mandela effect. So my question to you is, would you compare the memory of someone who watched a one-time robbery, who says the guy had a black jacket and not a gray jacket, and then they found the jacket is gray. He was wrong. Would you compare his memory of something he saw once, like a robbery, to a lifelong series of memories that saw something like Oscar Mayer or Looney Tunes, something you saw 1,000 times,
So
reinforced throughout your life, reinforced?
I will concede repetition to you on this, but I'll point out that what we're talking about is minutia, right? The neighborhood, a neighborhood, my neighborhood. These are details that you could hear it a bazillion times and it wouldn't matter.
Well, but that's not minutia, and I get it if that were the only changes. But we started just a minute ago. We were talking about the land masses of the earth being in the wrong place, and the Bible changes and all of this. So this is going on too. If it was just this, okay, well, but it's not just that. It's all this other stuff too. And
Maps
and
have never been the same.